So we are delighted to welcome back on to the How to Cut It podcast in collaborations with our friends at Wella Professionals UKI. James Earnshaw, welcome back onto the podcast. Great to have you here. And first time Commercial Education Manager for Wella Professionals UKI, Daisy Hewitt, welcome.
Hi.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great. And just to let our listeners know, we're sat here in the Manchester studio and we're going to be covering today around the Koleston Perfect KP Pop collection, a collaboration that you've been working on, James, as the digital ambassador. How's it been?
Yes, so I can't believe we're here a year after where we were before. Time is going so fast. I'm super happy with how it looks. Again, Daisy's just re-shown me everything again, just as it's about to launch, and I'm so excited and happy with it. We work so long on these collections, from model casting, from makeup to clothes, all of the mood boards. It's so great to see it all come to life. I'm really happy with it.
And when we spoke in our podcast, say nearly a year ago, we certainly got inside your mind from a content hairdresser. And today, having you here, Daisy, I think it's going to be great getting that commercial aspect as well. What has been your role in this project?
So thanks for having me, first of all.
It's a pleasure.
My role within these types of projects, so I've been working with Wella now for about 7 years. I've done a variety of different roles, but my current role means that I kind of work between our education team and also between our marketing team. So for me, it's all about inspiring hairdressers with exciting content and really showing off Wella's colour innovations in a way that gets hairdressers super excited to pick up those products, you know. And even if we share something like KP Pop, which is hopefully really inspiring, exciting for people to look at, even if they can just take one piece of that and bring that into the salon, that is my role, to kind of bring this commercial element to kind of working on a project with James where he's so creative, and to pull all the strings together so that it can be used by, you know, hairdressers that are working in every different aspect of the industry.
I think that's really good, isn't it, to get that combination, because, you know, James, as you say, from a creative point of view, you really bring that ideas and the formulas to it, and then Daisy then to bring that to behind the chair. So we're going to go deeper into it. But look, I think we just want to reflect on the success of the KPID collection. Why was it that Wella Professionals wanted to take this to the next level, James?
Do you know what it is? I think it's just because it was so great. I don't know what else to say. I think for me, I felt the pressure on this shoot. I think with KPID that we did, it was kind of under the radar and no one really knew we were doing it. And it was very secret and it was like, just do some images, whatever you like. Whereas now Daisy was like, well, everyone loved this one and it did so well, so you need to do something amazing for this. I'm like, oh, okay. So the pressure is on. So I think it was just about how can we elevate the shoot and make it look relevant, because trends and kind of things like that are changing so often now with social media that it actually is really great to see them next to each other, because it really does look like an evolution of the previous.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we're at, isn't it?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what James is saying. We literally just, before we was recording this, side by side, looked at the two collections, because it is a journey. It is definitely an evolution, but I think with KPID, so that came out at the beginning of 2022, and it was very unexpected from Wella to come out with this really creative collection. And I think this is where we work so well with James, because we know our hairdressers and, you know, all the people that kind of work with Wella as a product, but we know that actually this is for them. This isn't necessarily for the consumer. If the consumer likes to look at it, then that's great. But actually, this is from Wella to our hairdressers to give them something exciting to be inspired by. And I think with KPID, like, there was elements where, you know, we might have played it a little bit safe with like the clothes or the backgrounds. And I think with KP Pop, we have definitely elevated it. I think, James, you got that call, do you remember? And you was asked to take it to the next level. Hopefully, I think you've...
Yes, I remember.
What's that like then when you get asked to, look, I want to take this to the next level, James? I mean, how does that mind of yours then work?
I think for me, I'm so lucky because there's not many brands that will kind of contact you and let you do whatever you want, obviously within reason. So I'm very lucky. And I think for me, I've always found it quite easy when I'm just working with colour to make the individual look their best, you know? And I think for me, we just wanted to make sure that this collection was kind of more vibrant, more bold and more playful. So it was actually really easy this time to kind of bring everything together. And I think having that combination of the colour, the styling and the models and the clothes and the makeup all together with no limitation is why it really looks the next level. And for me, I think it's so great and refreshing to have a collection just for hairdressers. You know, I mean, I definitely have some clients or have seen clients who will definitely love some of the looks. But to me, it's really great because so many brands focus just on consumer, which is great, but it's really nice to have something just for us, you know?
And I think what's really interesting is that a lot of people that have worked with Koleston Perfect have always seen it as a very sort of standard service, haven't they? But I guess what you're talking about here now is really reflecting, as you just already said, with the trends and the way that things are going. And I think that's got to be exciting, hasn't it, Daisy, from a Wella professional's point of view, that, look, Koleston Perfect, there's so much more to this.
I think, you know, within our industry, KP is probably one of the biggest heritage brands. It's been around for a really long time. You know, it has lots of different usages, but over the years, it is perceived as a great coverage brand, you know, a vibrancy brand from maybe a red perspective. Wella Red has always been really iconic. But actually, what's interesting for us at Wella is to really celebrate the innovation with Koleston Perfect, because, of course, throughout the years, we've had many different versions of it, and each time it gets better. And I think what is really important, especially in these times where, you know, you might not have every single brand within your salon. You might have one or two or three, you know, from the Wella portfolio. So it's looking at what you can do to push that to the extreme and understanding that actually Koleston Perfect will offer you pretty much every area of the colour palette that you need. It has so many different usages, and it's kind of giving Koleston Perfect as a heritage brand time to shine in 2023, you know, with vibrancy and colour. And, you know, like I said earlier, if you have a client in the salon that is intrigued by these kind of vibrant images, when I was in the salon, my clients would always pick out the most creative image. They wouldn't have that, you know, exactly, but it would
just to look at.
It would catch their eye. They would go, "Oh, what's on trend?" Or, you know, and from there you can then start to have that conversation starter with clients. So it's a journey with KP. It really is, and it's kind of hopefully giving it to James, who is the creative mind behind it, and filtering it down to everybody else. And
I think we sort of, with James actually on it, you have worked with Koleston Perfect for a long time, and you obviously love that. What is it that you love about Koleston Perfect?
Yeah, so to me, I've worked with Koleston Perfect since 2007 when I started hairdressing at Wella, when we had Colour Touch and Koleston, and that was literally it back in the day. And for me, it was kind of a product range that I kind of forgot about, especially because I don't really have grey coverage clients or anything like that. So I would actually use demi-permanent colour a lot more than permanent colour. Whereas obviously being introduced kind of back into Koleston Perfect for that shoot that we did last year for KPID, it's definitely kind of opened my eyes up to a new world for Koleston. And I think for me, having, for example, Special Mix in so many shades just shows from this shoot how many different like shades you can create using Koleston. So, you know, for those reds, for blues, for purples, for lilacs, I kind of do find it quite fun to intermix the shades now to really kind of make it a more playful brand rather than just thinking, oh, it's just for grey coverage or something like that. So, yeah.
But I think that's really important that you're saying, because if you feel that, then all our hairdressers working behind the chair are feeling that. And I guess this is what it's about. It's about reconnecting and getting people excited again with Koleston Perfect.
Yeah. And do you know what? Definitely like since last time I've had so many messages from people like, oh, I've tried this mixture. For example, there was like a red image where we added some of the 0/30 booster. So like the yellow special mix. And so many people have been like, I've tried this formula. It's completely changed. I never even thought to order in that shade. And, you know, people have been like, I've bought it and I'm obsessed with it. And I hope And I know that some of the shades in this new collection, I think, are also going to do that as well.
Yeah, and I want to go into that, and maybe we can talk around some of the collections and the looks behind that and the techniques. But I know from your role, Daisy, that you worked a lot with the education team on this collection and project.
Yeah.
Could you just share with us a little bit about how this worked?
So, within Wella, we have a great education team. I think within the industry, our education team is known to be, the biggest, the most reliable. But they don't always get these opportunities to work on, these really creative, inspiring shoots and, getting to spend 3 days with James, come into the set, everything.
Was that a reward, was it? Having to spend 3 days with me?
Yeah. They were a bit shaken afterwards. I'm just kidding.
Shaken but stirred.
I'm just kidding. But actually, what we really wanted to do with KP Pop was, of course, we have James, we have this incredible creative influence that we can use. We know from James's following that people are so excited to see his work. But what we also know is that James is a content hairdresser that creates this work specifically for Instagram. What our education team bring to the table is that they visit salons on a daily basis, most of the time 2 salons a day. So what they kind of understand is the reality of salon life. So what we actually did was, out of the 6 models, they worked on 4. So they took 1 each because we had 4 members of the education team, but they essentially worked with James to collaborate on what that technique would look like. So they brought their kind of their influence from a commercial level, going into salons, seeing what the time constraints look like, that kind of thing. And then James came in and really asked them to think slightly differently about things. Like, there were certain models, because there's me that's in the mix with this, looking at it from my
I'm guessing that's what
mind.
you're bringing in as that commercial education manager, is that reality, the commercial life with the content creator.
So essentially for each look, we have James that, brings in these ideas and really flips things on its head sometimes a little bit. I know that I remember talking about Kendra. We'll talk about the models in a bit, but she's our red model in this collection. And there was the 3 of us, James with his ideas, Erica, who was doing the hair, with her ideas, and actually finding the middle ground between, unlimited creativity and what could actually work as a salon relevant technique. And I hope everybody agrees when we go through the images that they all really do look incredible. So the education team brought kind of their experience. And also as well, it was really interesting, James, I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but there was some lightning that needed to be done on one of the models, and they did such an incredible job. Do you remember?
Oh, when we were going to keep her blonde.
They did such a good job that we was like, shall we maybe not do what we was going to do? But we stuck to the brief in the end. Yeah, me too. So yeah, it was really, really great to have them with us. And also just giving them that opportunity and chance to shine as well, because I think they do go a little bit unnoticed sometimes. Yeah,
totally. I think for me as well, so many times when I look at images or I'll look at the step-by-step video, it's like, that is taking so long that I'm bored and I'm not going to do that, because when I'm in the salon, I'm there to make money and I'm there to obviously be creative. But obviously the number one thing why we're all in the salon is because we need to earn money. So to me, the techniques need to be kind of quick and easy. And I think sometimes previously with Koleston Perfect, things would take longer, which is why I would not use it. Whereas we've been able to create, services that are quick. So we decided to do the lightning in one step, but then we made sure root shadowing and toning and all of that was done in together. So it was relatable to the salon and it didn't take forever, because I know if I see something that's going to take me too long, I'm like, no.
Yeah, switches you off.
But I think that's important, isn't it, James? That you have experienced life behind the chair long before your role. So I guess that's why it's always good to have somebody like you that can maybe, do this creative stuff, but that the reality is.
Yeah.
This has got to work with the commercial education, because this is what it's all about. Now, I just have to go back to that sort of with the collection, James, and I know the word inspiration gets bandied around all the time. Inspiration. But it has to be inspiration. These ideas don't just start from, there. Where do you start? Where did you look? Where did you find the ideas to these looks?
Yeah, so I remember when when I got asked to do it, I was like, okay, how can I kind of take it up another level? What can we do? Obviously, I still like everything to look really beautiful and really premium. I don't like stuff that's too edgy, that it's not attractive or whatever. So for me, I just started looking at kind of fashion trends. And I know it's such a cliche thing to look at like a runway show, but I just tend to kind of have a little look what's out there and then just draw inspiration from like one or two things and then just come up with my own ideas. But one thing that really stood out to me was looking at Versace, and Versace for spring summer 2023 were doing loads of color. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting because Versace is not a brand that does color. So to me, it's almost like Koleston Perfect is a brand that wasn't shown for like loads of different colors. Yeah. So to me, it felt quite relatable. And I remember seeing all of the clothes on the runway being like, wow, they've got like purple with green with yellow, but it still looks really premium. And I was like, that's exactly what I want to achieve. So I never go, okay, it's all inspired by this. But that was like straight away, I was like, okay, to me, if we can achieve that kind of color clash, which I have seen before, but I've seen it in kind of a more kind of punkier, stronger way. If we can achieve that in a more premium way, then I'd be really happy. And then I just started looking on TikTok, on Instagram, on Pinterest, and just started looking at, you've got girls on Instagram now and on TikTok who are, colouring their hair, like block colouring it at the front, like blue with like pink lipstick and red nails, and they're wearing a green top. And it's really fun and playful time. So I was like, this is the perfect thing. And then just pop just came into my head. And I was like, it's about making everything pop.
I love the word pop as well, because it is
fun to say.
Certainly it is a great word. But actually, you hear that all the time. You want things to pop out, don't you? Pop out on social, Instagram. And that's actually really important as well, isn't it? That these looks, and I'm not just saying it because we are here talking about it, but I love the collection. Thanks. I think it is so beautifully done, but it's so relevant, and the colour clash, as you say, that's what comes through to me. And just to remind our audience, you will give you all the links to come and look at these images and get a real take of these. But you have done it very, very well. I think what's great then is that you can then take these, as what you were touching upon, Daisy, and bring these back into the commercial life. How's that being received by salons, hairdressers, freelancers? Do they have to just get a more muted down way of doing this that's going to be adaptable to Beth or Betty?
Thing is though, we always have this and we don't disagree, but I think for me it's like, what is the word commercial? Yeah. Because when I worked in the salon, not every single client had brown hair, not every single client had blonde highlights. I had probably 40% of my clientele was pastels and reds, because you attract what you put out there.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So to me, even though this is for hairdressers, if you want to achieve more exciting clients, love that. Because I don't want to be doing grey coverage every day. So if you want to achieve more interesting clients, these images are a great way to attract.
And I think that's
those
thank
clients.
You for that, because I think that is absolutely spot on. But I guess there will be people who are thinking, I don't have those people, but I do want to still, create a maybe muted down version that is more commercial to somebody that isn't, who's going to be that brave. What would you say to that, Daisy?
I definitely think that a lot of the time, the key to success with creative hair is, as James mentioned, it's still having that level of beauty and attractiveness to it. All of the styling within KP Pop is really beautiful. It's that just the styling alone is really relatable, I would say, because everything is glossy, beautiful, voluminous, and really appropriate for the person that it's on. I think then when you kind of scale it back and look at the techniques, as we mentioned, everything is a very straightforward process. Yes, there are some techniques that are a little bit more creative, particularly maybe Nicole, who is like the kind of very multi-tonal technique. There's a little bit more complexity, but then nothing is more than one or two steps. And I think that's key, because in salon, if we start moving into things that are 3 and 4 steps long, this is what tends to switch people off in terms of timing. I think from a commerciality point of view as well, we very much look to James for creativity, for trends, for technique, because that's what he is incredible at. What we then have to do in my role is kind of look at how all of that translates down into education materials, because we mentioned our education team earlier. And as we said, they are going into salons every day. So for me, it's about, what does that person need to take this into a salon and inspire the hairdresser. Now, the number one thing is that we need to show them something that's exciting. And that's where the KP pop images come in. But from there, they need to see how they can take Betty, for example, as we just talked about,
good old Betty,
who might be willing, maybe she is grey coverage, but maybe she's willing to have, some areas that are slightly different tonally, or maybe she wants a bit of a panel around the front, or, so it's how can you quite easily translate those clients into something that is maybe a little bit more interesting. And we know that trade-up opportunity is really good for business as well. So although we're super creative, actually there's an element to this where offering a client something new and exciting in a way that is comfortable to them, hopefully really drives our colour category forward as well. So something that we have worked on is, of course, we had KP Pop as our big campaign, big inspiration. But then so that we're able to kind of filter this down, we then got 4 of our kind of experts that also work for Wella in some capacities. So 3 of them were salon owners. One of them runs a colour department in quite a big salon.
Can you give them a shout out? Can you remember all those
Of course. So we had Nikki Clifford, we had Jordana Cabela, we had Daniel Couch from Russell Eaton, and finally we had Fergal Doyle. And what I did was I gave them the technique. So the technical drawings and head sheets, which, by the way, if anybody's listening and would like to see these, they are all available on the Wella Education site. I gave them the technical drawing. I gave them a colour palette. I asked them to take a fairly normal salon client, use those techniques alongside the colour palette and see what they came up with. And we got 4 incredible commercial looks from that. So you can see all of those. They will be featured in the KP Pop lookbook, so you can find that on the...
Okay, we'll put all the links in for everybody.
Yeah, because actually what that then proves is that if they can make it work in a salon environment, then actually this inspiring imagery that we create actually does work, because what it does is it hopefully gives our hairdressers something exciting, but it also gives them opportunity in the salon as well.
Great. Well, I think it's a great concept, and I think that idea is good. And from the stylist point of view, it's knowing that it's manageable as well, that you can do this in the salon. It's not going to freak you out time-wise. It's making that all really workable for the clients and the stylist. But look, I want to get behind the looks to the collections now, James. So we've got 3D overview, rainbow lights. Mm-hmm. So would it be okay if you could talk us through some of the tips and the techniques behind these? So let's start off with then Ben.
Yes, my favourite image. I remember when we were casting the girls and boy for this shoot, I wanted it to feel quite inclusive, and I don't really, how do I say this? I like it to kind of look inclusive, but in like a real modern way, and I think for me, having different hair types, having the guy in there, having different kind of backgrounds, I think looks really great. And I think Ben was like one that we had quite a few different options of girls. And I think I really had to search to find someone who would actually look good with orange hair. And again, as soon as I saw Ben, straight away, we chose her, and she was amazing. She's Australian, and we got on so well, and she'd never coloured her hair before. So to me, she went straight in with orange. So it was perfect.
She loved it as well.
Yeah, and she actually loved it, and she rocked it. And we shot it over 3 days. So she had like a middle day off. So she was just walking around Manchester with like her orange hair, and she loved it. But yeah, she's my favourite. She's my favourite. And I think for me, we have Holly from last year, which did so well being red, that we wanted to kind of level up that and do something extra. So to me, that vibrant copper to show how amazing Koleston is for copper was great.
Yeah, and then we've got Nicole, Rainbow Lights.
Yes, my other favourite one. So again, with Nicole, I wanted something that, showed special mix to its advantage and shows how you can mix shades together to create super bespoke kind of bold colour. But also what I did want to do was something that looked, when it was just straight, something quite commercial and soft. But then as you start to move it around, like there's an image where it's tied up into a knot, where I love that because you can really see the colour. But as it's down, you see that colour less. So I'm really happy with that one as well.
And then we've got Callum, 3D Colour.
Yes.
I'm testing you here on all these.
I know. I remember them. Callum was a challenge. And I think why I love this collection even more is when you see the befores and afters, everyone is a transformation.
So strong.
Yeah, because sometimes you look at images for before and after and you're like, I don't really see much